We're struggling today. Hey.
All right.
Hey. There you are. Welcome to Liquid Lunch. It's a fantastic Friday, but it's also a little freaky Friday because things are happening all over the place. We have Bronze Star, Purple Heart recipient Trump Parnell, and the show it's already off to a wondrous start for me. We even had a sip of Question Tequila in the first segment.
Yeah, that could be what's causing us to, be a little askew for today.
I think I might have come in askew. I think I may have started out askew.
It's funny. The first question you asked me this morning was the best solution for a hangover. And we're going to talk with somebody who has quite a few solutions to America's problems in just a second.
Yeah, and, Eileen Fisher is just about to join us. She's a matchmaker, and she's going to have her own show on AM 970 radio. We're going to talk about all that stuff in a minute. I just wanted to give you a quick update on my Uncle Denny. He had, over the weekend, he had a little scare there. He got knocked around. I gave everybody an update that he was doing better. And I just checked in with him today. All is well.
Oh, that's great.
Because I said, how's things going? And he says, you know what they say. It's not a party until somebody goes to the hospital.
That's right. And I thought you were doing it to get out.
Apparently he's in good spirits.
I thought you were doing it to get out of Steve Levy's or Michael Levy's wedding.
Well, listen. Fam first, and Mikey understood completely. Chris Macke joins us again. I thought we were going to have Eileen Fisher, but I guess she's going to be the follow-up to this guest. Chris has been on with us before. He's a corporate investment strategy expert, author of a new book, Solutionomics. And we need some solutionomics right now. It seems like Trump got us some by laying a line in the sand. If you don't do something by this day, I'm going to do the tariffs. And he didn't back off this time. He put some of them into effect, but he gave them a chance to whittle out of it. And now China's saying, all right, we want to be calm. What does this mean for the markets from your perspective?
Well, unfortunately, what that means is that instead of calm, we've gotten uncertainty. Because China has been playing into what I call our strategy that I call kind of the Charlie Brown negotiating strategy. It's kind of like with Charlie Brown and Lucy being China, and they say, well, we're going to make a deal, And right at the last minute, when we, playing the role of Charlie Brown, are getting ready to do a deal, to do an honest deal and a fair deal, they pull the ball away. And we've just seen that for too many years. Something needed to be done. And hopefully we can get something done because what's been going on with China has been going on for too long.
There's been dumping of steel. There's been intellectual property. Everything you could imagine. As soon as anyone does anything good, they're ripping it off. That's like their specialty in life. And I feel like while we're free market capitalists, right, so we don't love tariffs, it's one of the levers that Trump had to pull. Right, we want to be free market, let everybody, blah, blah, blah. But they're killing the world in so many ways. Cheap labor, they're polluting, they spend no money on environmental protection. So they have a competitive advantage that if China were a company here in the U.S., they'd bring an antitrust case against them.
Well, that's right. And, I'm all for free markets, I'm all for free trade. But the reality is that we can't be the only country carrying the banner of free trade when the rest of the world is protectionist. I mean, we need to have some reciprocity here. So it is well within our rights and very reasonable that we would say, look, we just want a level playing field. Maybe we're not even talking about punitive tariffs, but just level the playing field so that American companies and the American worker can be on the same level as the other countries. Let me give you a quick fact here. So China, until recently, had a 25% tariff on U.S. automobiles. We had a 2.5% tariff on automobiles coming from China. That meant that companies like Buick and Cadillac were not only producing cars in China to sell in China, but they were shipping them back to the U.S. That's how bad it was. And that's why it's good to see something being done. It would have been helpful if the approach would have been telegraphed. It would have given companies more time to adjust. That would have created less uncertainty. but something needed to be done.
And basically, they'll be defending a tribute to liberalism or a tribute to conservatism to explain why the right wing is right or the left wing is right. This book is refreshingly non-ideological, and you go through corporate tax solutions, expanding the middle class solutions, financial crisis solutions, global trade solutions, and it's devoid of politics. It just goes after solutions. On the expanding the middle class front, we have seen a whole generation of young people saddled with crippling student loan debt that it takes them, some instances, decades to pay. And it seems like the dream of home ownership, having a family by the time you're 30, is gone. I see more 30-year-olds living with their parents now than at any time in history. Is there a way to restore the middle class so, kids don't come out of college crippled with this student loan debt? And if so, what's the solution?
Well, there certainly is. And there's a number of things we can do here, but one of the first things is that a reallocation of our education dollars. What we know from the facts is that community colleges provide some of the best return on investment for the dollars, for the American taxpayers' dollars. It costs less, and the students get better returns when they come out of college. We need to allocate more dollars there. To the institutions that are not performing well, we need to cut back those dollars. The whole book is non-political because the whole premise is base solutions on return on investment. That just comes from my background, having been in the private sector and having been in investments. So I figured, why not try and apply that to the world of policy? I'll tell you one quick anecdote. On one of my trips to D.C., I was talking with a staffer and I was sharing one of my ideas, which is that to base each company's corporate tax rate on each company's rate of job creation and percentage of jobs in America. Pretty straightforward, return on investment. Unfortunately, she looked at me with a very forlorn face and she said, "That makes a lot of sense, but unfortunately, Congress doesn't think that way." Well, it's time that they did, and I was hoping that by writing this book and by being on shows like yours, we can get the word out so they can start thinking that way.
Yeah, we had someone on yesterday, and I was talking about in New York City, we used to have the Off-Track Betting Corporation, OTB, where you can go bet on horse races, and the government the state ran it. It was the only bookmaking operation in history that went out of business because the government was running it. And it reminds me of your anecdote because the last thing you could do is let the government run anything. So when you give them a practical solution, like this is how we would apply a free market capitalist idea, that's too binary for them. You know what I mean? They would have to actually operate something or change something, and they just keep doing the same thing over and over again. They don't want to change.
Well, first of all, that's pretty amazing that they could have put an OTB out of business.
Yeah, not an OTB.
All the OTBs.
Every
All the
OTB
OTBs,
across the state went bankrupt with the government running it.
I mean, that takes a whole lot of effort. So then that leads to the question of, do we have the right Congress? Because sometimes people will say to me, great solutions, make a lot of sense. They won't do it. My response is, then we have the wrong Congress. In the business world, if I've got a manager who has a very good idea, but his boss won't implement it, the problem isn't the solution or that manager, it's the person above him. And so that's why getting the public involved in the process can make a big difference.
So, Chris, you have a 4-step Congress recovery plan, right? Mm-hmm. And the first part of that is the one that I love the most,
I need
which
a recovery
is
plan.
attracting a different type of member. And I want to encourage everybody to buy the book Solutionomics. But in the final minute that we have, in a nutshell, how do we attract a different type of member to run for Congress?
Well, it's pretty simple. You just make the job not as cushy. I mean, look, they've got health care that we don't have. They've got health care that our veterans would dream of. How many hours do they work? I'm not sure. All I know is it seems like they're on recess more than students are. And so we need to make it a job that is a job that serves the American people. That's the first step. That's going to eliminate certain people that are going there for all the wrong reasons. Another aspect of it is you have some people going there because they're just looking for the lucrative opportunity after. We need to make sure that that is not the reason they're going there as well.
Great ideas. Chris Macke is always a great contributor to the show. I want to thank him for being here. And we got to team him up with Jeff Webb from the New American Populist. They're looking for 31 candidates to take back those Democrat seats that were flipped in the midterm elections. Like you say, to change the Congress.
But these solutions could just as easily be implemented by Democrats as well as Republicans.
I'm with you. All right. Well, look, We'll have Chris back again. We love the guests who know where the rubber meets the road, and he's just another one, and a great one. You're great for being here on a fantastic Friday. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few minutes.